Hey all, it's Dan Book Nook Noggin here with another book review. I want to thank you all for clicking this video and sticking around to hear about this book that I am reviewing now, called Under Her Black Wings by Kandisha Press. This is the first volume of the Women in Horror Anthology collection. And I want to throw out this disclaimer in case you're new to my channel and you're not familiar with how I rate and review anthology collections. Now, because anthology collections are a representation of multiple authors, I decide to rate and review each story on its own merit on a 1 to 5 star rating. That's just how I do my ratings of anthologies. I then take all those ratings and review ratings of each individual story. I then total them all up and do an average, and that's how I decide to give the rating for the total collection in itself. Now, I'm going to start out by saying I decided to rate this based on my system there that I just explained. I decided to give this volume a 3 out of 5 star rating. Now, a 3 out of 5 star rating is not bad. It's good. It means that I really enjoyed some of the stories, and some stories I just did not care for. And I'm going to highlight and tell you about the stories that I really enjoyed in this collection first. One of the stories I read that one of the first ones I read that I really enjoyed was a story from Summer Cannon, and it was called The Riddled Path. And it was so unexpected, but this whole collection, I should probably backtrack and tell you that the whole collection kind of highlights these stories about female, villainous, kind of succubus, kind of haunting, mythological kind of characters found in legend and in history, and there are stories written about those types of women, like deadly kind of women. And yeah, I'm not going to ramble on about that, but the first story that I read and really enjoyed was called The Riddled Path by Summer Cannon. I gave that one a 4.5 star rating. I really enjoyed it because it started out kind of mild-mannered. I didn't really anticipate seeing this twist, pun intended, twist in the riddled path. I did not anticipate what kind of creature they were going to run into. And once you got, introduced to this menacing thing that was on this path of these Boy Scouts that are hiking through the woods, I was just like, wow, that was really clever, really smart. And I really enjoyed that story, and it really ramped up the dread in kind of a fun way. So I really enjoyed that one. The next story I read that I really enjoyed from this collection was called The Darkness. And I think that one was written by, let me see what her name is, because I'm not familiar with this author. Where is it? There it is. Stevie Copas, which I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. I'm not too familiar with her. I don't know if she has any collections, like novels out. But I really enjoyed The Darkness. It was a different kind of story. It was a post-apocalyptic story about this plague. And I can't spoil it. I can't tell you what the plague is. But it starts out with these survivors in a house. They're very hungry, they're starving, and they're not sure if they want to go out and scavenge for supplies and food because of the threat level of these roving bands of people that are trying to deal with these plagued individuals. And you're thinking one thing is happening, and there was even one point, I will admit, where something happened in the story, and I was like, man, that was kind of dumb, and it didn't make any sense. But when you got to the end of the story, I was like, oh, now I get it. Now it totally makes sense. So, like, there was another story that kind of flipped, and once you found out what was going on, I was like, oh my god, this is a brilliant story. So, like I said, I can't spoil it. I can't explain why I thought that was a brilliant story, but it was one that I really enjoyed, and, like, the whole, like, flipping the story and it yeah, it really caught me. There were two other stories that were really, really enjoyable. There were the ones towards the end that had to do with a Malaysian kind of succubus. One of them was written by the lady who edited the collection, Jill Girardi, and then the other one I think was by Tina Isaacs. Those were both beautifully well crafted, very well written, and I love the fact that they introduced the reader to another culture and they were very knowledgeable about the culture. I really enjoyed that. It really made it for a more enjoyable story both times. I don't know why they were chosen to go back to back like that, or at least they seem like they were back to back. There might have been a story between the two. Yes, there was a story between the two, but like, I don't know why they were chosen to be put towards the end, but they were really enjoyable as well. Now I'm gonna talk about one of the stories, but I'm not gonna say who the author was. But one of the stories that I really just did not care for. I was a French major back in high school, and one of the stories was in Spanglish. Now, my wife, on the other hand, she was the Spanish major in college, and in high school she excelled in Spanish and Italian, and my wife knows multiple languages. So she's better at languages than I am. But there was this one story that was written by a Spanish author, and I say it was written in Spanglish because every other word was English and then it would transition to Spanish, and it was just unreadable for me. And because I'm not fluent or well versed in Spanish, I didn't enjoy it. I couldn't get into the story because I felt like there were too many Spanish words that were like either untranslatable, or for some reason they chose to keep them as Spanish words. I just really did not care for that, and it just made it for a story that I just didn't like. On the other hand, there was another story written by a Latinx lady who I really enjoyed. Oh, what was that one? It was written by... what was her name now? It was called The Aztec, written by Carmen Baca. I really enjoyed that one. And at least in that story, if the author brought up a term that was in Spanish, she later translated, if not in the same sentence, at least later in that paragraph, she translated what it meant. So that really helped to understand and appreciate the story that much better. So I wanted to give those two examples so that you could understand. But yeah, the one story, I just couldn't get into it because I felt like it was too... I couldn't understand it because it was in a different language that I don't know, and yeah. But yeah, I really enjoyed this collection. I did start immediately reading Volume 2 after finishing this. It is worth picking up and checking out these stories. There's a couple of authors in this book that I really enjoyed their stories, and I wish that they had novels or novellas even to go pick up and check out, but I think some of them just don't. Like, another story I really enjoyed was by a lady named Sharon Frayne Gay. Oh, what was that one called again? Because I can't remember. Oh, that was the Road Rage story, and that was another story where you thought one thing was happening, and then it kind of flipped on itself, and it turned out it was a totally different thing going on than what you had anticipated or what you thought was happening. That was a really clever and well-crafted story as well. I really enjoyed that one. And that one, to be honest with you, it started to feel like a Lifetime movie. There were a couple that felt like Lifetime movies for me, if that makes any sense. Like, if you've ever, I'm sure we've all seen Lifetime movies, you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that was one that I really enjoyed. That one was kind of more of a thriller, a supernatural thriller, I guess you could say. But yeah, like I said, I gave this a total star rating of 3 out of 5 stars. I told you guys about the stories that I really, really loved, and I gave you the example of the opposite that I just really didn't like. And I really don't want to say what that author's name is for the story that I just didn't like, because I want to uplift voices I don't want to like downplay just because it wasn't for me. And maybe for you, maybe because I didn't like it, maybe you'll really enjoy it. And that's one of the great things about anthologies, is that each individual story and someone else's opinion may be great. So, like, yes, go definitely check out this collection. It's well worth picking up. And like I said, I am reading Volume 2 currently. And once I finish that, I will also review that as well. For those of you in the U.S., I will have a link to Amazon for you to pick this up. I'm going to also throw down the link for Kandisha Press themselves if you want to check out their website. I don't know what time of the year that they do their submission calls, but if you are a woman author and you want to get in on this, I'm sure they're expanding. It seems like the collections seem to get bigger with each collection, each volume that they come out with. Like this one, for instance, had 18 stories by 19 authors. There was one story that was co-written by this group. That was another story I really enjoyed that was written by the Sisters of Slaughter, I think they're called. That one was really good, and yeah, I would love to check out more stuff by them. But yeah, like I noticed Volume 2 was a lot more pages than this one, and I think Volume 3 has even more. So yeah, the collections seem to be growing as they come out with more and more stuff. For those of you outside the U.S., I will have a bookshop.org link for you to pick up a copy of this. If I don't manage to find this on bookshop.org, that's why I'm also throwing down the Kandisha Press website so you can buy direct from them. I'm also going to throw down my Ko-fi link if you got something from watching this video, or if you've read any of these authors, or if you read this collection yourself. Let me know your thoughts on it down below. I'm always up for hearing other people's opinions about books that I've read. We can open a discussion, you know, a little discourse, you know what I mean. But thank you for watching. Like I mentioned, I'm going to throw down my Ko-fi link. You know, feel free to buy me a coffee or two. I could use the energy and the motivation. If you came here looking for indie horror book reviews and recommendations, by all means, what are you doing? Hit that subscriber button, and while you're there, hit that notification bell. This has been Dan. Stay healthy and be good to each other.